Alright, well, welcome back. We're talking about multiplying special cases. So we're back here at key concept where we're talking about the product of a sum and a difference. As we go through, what we're talking about is if I were to have a plus b times a minus b. If I had two binomials we were multiplying together like this. Now it has to be of this format where it's the same a in both terms and the same b in both binomials there. But one of them is the addition, one of them is a subtraction. Now we actually call what this is called as a conjugate. We call these conjugates of each other, and it becomes really popular in Algebra 2 when we talk about it, because these are what we call a difference of squares as well. So what we find out is that when I multiply these together, I get the first term squared, subtract the second term squared. Okay, it only works if they look like this. So for an example, if I said like x minus 2 and x plus 2, so I even put them backwards here to show you that commutative property works just the same. All I have to do is take x squared and then take 2 squared, which is 4, and just put subtraction in between. It will always be a subtraction in between, but that's the way it's going to work. Now if we did FOIL, it would come out to be x squared plus 2x minus 2x and then minus 4. So what you'll notice is the reason why we don't have just a single x is because they cancel each other out. Alright, and you're left with the x squared minus 4. So there's kind of the reasoning why it works. So we look at this particular problem. So I see that x cubed, 8 and 8. And then I notice that it's plus and minus. Now if it's not plus and minus, then you cannot do this method. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay, so now I know that it's just taking the x cubed, squaring it, taking the 8, squaring it, and putting a minus sign in between. So when I square an x cubed, I'm actually going to multiply to get x to the 6, and 8 squared, I get 64. And it's that simple as you go through. Alright, so go ahead and do part A and part B there. And complete those two examples. Alright, so let's look at example 5 here. As we go through example 5, what we're going to be talking about is using the mental math again. Now we're taking two large numbers to multiply them. And this becomes a little tricky. It becomes knowing numbers as we would go through. So I see 64 and I see 56, and I know that, real quickly, if I take 60 and I subtract 4, add 4, I'm going to have my 64. So what I just did was I rewrote my number to be 60 plus 4 to be 64. Now you might be wondering why. We'll see here in a second what we're doing. I'm going to take 60, and what I'm going to say is if I subtract 4, well, that gives me 56. So my second one is a subtraction of 4. My first one is an addition of 4. 60 is right in the middle. And what we should notice is, hey, this looks very familiar like the last one we just did. I have 60, 60, 4, 4, and then I have a plus minus. So this is the sum difference of binomials. So what I can do is I can take my 60, I can square it, I can take my 4, and I can square it, and put a minus sign in between. All we're doing is we rewrote 64 and 56 to be these two binomials, which they are still the same numbers, and we're still multiplying them together. Because of that, we're able to get down this real quick. So I know 6 squared is 36. Again, I know 10 squared is going to be 100, so real quick I get 3600 for the 60 squared. So I'm not actually saying what's 60 squared, I'm kind of breaking that down and working through it. And then I know that 4 squared is 16. So real quickly I take 3600, subtract 16, get my 3584. Okay, and there would be my end result. And that would be the exact same thing as if I took 64 times 56 and did my whole operation. I would find the same end result. Okay, so go ahead and give it a shot. If you're having trouble figuring out what that first number should be to add and subtract, try starting out somewhere in between. Okay, so I see 52 and 48. Find that number in between that if I add or subtract from it, I'll get those two numbers. Okay, so there's your answers to the got it's and the examples. you can go through and check your work on those. If you have any questions, let me know, either through the Edmodo or through Twitter, AdamFNerd, and let me know if you got anything going on with that.